It's the morning star drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the morning star drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Tuesday, July 5th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what is happening on this wonderful Tuesday? We've got current news from around the world, looking into the book of 2 Samuel, and question and comment discussion on evangelism in churches. All right, everyone, how are you doing today? It is a wonderful Tuesday, and as you can hear, my voice is still a little bit rough and recovering from the SS retreat, but it's really good to be back inside my friend's house here in San Francisco. So I am recording from San Francisco. Hope you guys are having an amazing and awesome day, and thankful for all of you joining us here on the Morning Star Drive. So keep liking and commenting. I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. Right. So the most important thing for all of us here is to build the community. And today we're going to get back into our regular schedule. One thing I forgot to tell you guys, I completely passed by it. I saw it yesterday, but I've passed 600 episodes. This is episode 601. So I'm very, very excited and happy that we've reached this milestone of over 600 podcasts. Haven't missed a single one. I've been late to 2, but in most cases, yeah, it's been great, a great ride. A little bit over 2 years, but guys, 600 episodes. So big congratulations and big thank you to the Holy Trinity for just continuously motivating and pushing all of us here together. Like it's kind of like this relationship we have is I'm the one that's making this podcast, but in the end, if no one's listening to it, if 0 people are listening to it, I wouldn't continue with it. Right? Because it's just not fruitful enough. Like, what would be the point of me putting all this energy in if not a single person is listening? But what's even better is when I look at the YouTube stats for these Morning Star Drive podcasts, it's great because the viewership, membership keeps going higher and higher. We're at like over 920 subscribers, which is great. And I'm hoping that a lot more people are listening, a lot more people are supporting. So I am super grateful and thankful. We have hit 600 episodes. Yes, we're on 601 today. So hope you guys, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to the Holy Trinity and also to all you guys out there, whether you're new or old since the beginning. Super grateful that you have been with us. All right. So I finished the retreat. And now it's kind of a time to wind down, kind of, because we still have some leftover people from the retreat, and we're going to hang out. 4th of July. Some people are going to be here for the entire week. But it's really good because I was able to sit down with some of the SS and really kind of talk to them and about their reflections on the retreat itself, what they really liked from it. And I'm hoping that I can realize even more that it can be something that can help a lot of SS parents out there, and also SS national leaders or church leaders to find newer and better ways to help them out. Like we had some crazy games out there, and that's the big thing. The big thing that so far I talked to like 4 or 5 kids already, and they said number one thing was recreational activity. Right. And they're SS. So that, that fun parts are the things they're going to remember. Right. So I really, really enjoyed my time. I think on my Instagram, some of you guys saw me ride the zip line. And that's my first time I've ever done it in my life. And interesting thing is when you're sitting there at the bottom watching people come down, it's really, really interesting because when you look at the kids, and the kids are always taking pictures of them, they're taking selfies and what they did, what they're doing, kind of the same thing I do too, right? But it's very, very interesting because parents are just there to watch too. And what's crazier is there's such a big difference between children and adults. Like the way of thinking, you can tell when someone's really, really matured. Because like when I watch the parents, they're talking with each other, but once they know that it's their child doing the zip line, they are standing up and they're recording it. They're doing this and they're doing that. It was crazy. And I thought, wow, that's really, really amazing. Like you could just see that they're so selfless and they're only thinking about their children. And I was like, wow, that's, there's a big sign of spirituality too. When I thought about when people are maturing spiritually, when you're young, you're always thinking about, oh, what can I do? What can I do? It's always about themselves. But even in the same way, I was thinking, yeah, when you become spiritually mature, a big thing that I was thinking about was it's not like you stop thinking about yourself, but in the center, because you have God there, and you have that God mentality, that parent mentality, you're always thinking about everyone else. And I thought, like, wow, this is, it's really interesting just to see the stark difference between the two. And you know what? I'll probably talk about this on tomorrow or Thursday. I did have these interesting topics with SS. Like, I was like, wow, this is something I do think that people would have to talk about with their kids. And it's a little bit, it's not as cut and dry as we think, right? Or it's not like the school's going to teach it for us anyways. So I do have a lot of thoughts that I'm thinking about right now. But of course, this week is about question and comment. We're going to be answering that question from last week and getting all the different people's thoughts on what they thought about evangelism in your churches, in your country, as an individual, and how well it really goes. And what do you think needs to change in order for evangelism to do better? Or what is considered good evangelism, right? So we'll go over that over the last section today. So we're going to talk a lot about evangelism for that, right? So that's going to be quite interesting also. Thursday, how was the talk on Thursday? Is God's love unconditional? I hope you guys really enjoyed that one too. Go ahead, you guys can leave, a like, a comment, whatever it is. Would really, really appreciate it. But, something that you can show to your newcomers too. And I think it'll be something beneficial for them also. Okay. So, let's get this show started with some member music from around the world. So today's featured artist is from Japan. This is Kuma-chan, and I really, really enjoyed this song. It is The Greatest Blessing 2022. After that, we're going to listen to Renee Lai from Taiwan with How Far I'll Go from the Moana soundtrack. And last but not least, we have Ju-Star from New Zealand with her latest single that came out last week, and that song is called Crystal Clear.
1, 2, 3, 4.
令和の時代成長下から戦う時代うまくいかないうまくやれないことが多いけど決して諦めないあれから7年の月日が経ち蒔いた種は少しずつ芽を出し今すべて捨てられざらいあなたに告げて Be alright どんなに険しい道のりでも果てない壁に阻まれても It's fly away Fly away yeah 天高く頂上目指す観難の波が押し寄せてもこんなに愛が溢れてるから立ち上がれ立ち上がれ yeah 一人じゃない It's your love
最高の祝福得る時代愛そうこれからの未来に期待世界はまだまるで瞑想未来永劫したくない戦争この時代に訪れた平和最も大きな愛をくれたメシアただ確信してずっと愛そう感謝が溢れる死の栄光
どんなに険しい道のりでも果てない壁に阻まれても It's fly away Fly away yeah 天高く頂上目指す観難の波が押し寄せてもこんなに愛が溢れてるから立ち上がれ立ち上がれ yeah 一人じゃない Power of Love 主の愛とその恵み忘れないで御言葉を行って御言葉を通し全てに勝って主の軍隊となり黄金の城へ前進する主と共に溢れる祝福をくださった惜しみなくくださった主に感謝する永遠に主のそばで生きられる夢ではない現実主を愛します最高の祝福をくださった心は天国です感謝します主と輝く歴史なそう私を使ってください愛してます
心中有一个无尽的海洋，没有尽头的地方，那里永远有阳光。不要完成别人给的梦想，我有自己专属脸庞，从我中学会成长。每一个转弯，每一个路段，每一次希望，每一次失望，不管多困难，有什么地方是我不能闯。我听见地平线那一边呼唤我，不用知道终点多远，乘着风，迎着浪，迎着帆，不是疯狂，因为信仰，人生是一场考验坚强的流浪。虽然留在原地十分安全，天堂里面没有悲伤，但我会失去幻想。虽然能和别人一模一样，会有相同的赞赏，但我有定制的主张。每一个转弯，每一个路段，每一次希望，每一次失望，不管多困难，有什么地方是我不能闯。我听见地平线那一边呼唤我，不用知道终点多远，乘着风，迎着浪，拥着帆，不是疯狂，因为信仰，越过了黑夜会遇见梦想。我听见地平线那一边呼唤我，不用知道终点多远，乘着风，迎着浪，拥着帆，不是疯狂，因为信仰，终点在我。Crystal clear, waters of blue. It feels like 17 years since I saw you, and I've been waiting for a chance to come back to the river where we met, back to the river, to the friend I once had. Crystal clear thoughts in my mind. When I get tangled up, you help me unwind. The voice of reason when times are hard. Your heart is pleasing, pleasing to God. crystal clear, beguile and be wild. You're free to roam the globe, you're free to smile. I wish you would beside me, my confidant, to comfort and guide me whenever I'm alone. To comfort and guide me whenever I'm alone.
And there it is. That is Star from New Zealand. That song is called Crystal Clear. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Before that, Renee Lai from Taiwan, How Far I'll Go. That is a Chinese version from the Moana soundtrack. And of course, featured artist of the day. That is Kuma-chan from Japan with The Greatest Blessing 2022. And you know, more and more I look at these member artists. I think it's quite amazing. Like, we're listening to songs from people from Taiwan in Chinese and in English from New Zealand and Australia, America. We're also looking at Kuma-chan from Japan. We have The Sky, AG, and we have so many people from all parts of the world, these members that are creating amazing music. And I do think this is going to become like a big part of our culture, that we're having great music that is made by members that have, that creativity. That's like, it all comes and stems from the word inspired by the Holy Spirit. And I think that's something that we should be thankful for, especially when we have our kids growing up too, like the SS and the Milky Ways. If we can get them to start listening to, cleaner music, I think that's going to be a massive blessing. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. We had this 5-hour drive all the way up to the Sequoias for the retreat trip. And when we're playing music, like, we play Providence music, but we also play worldly music. And when you kind of sit back and listen to some of the music, you're like, wow, like, we're really into this type of stuff. And it's true what Sunsteam said, is that Satan has stole the arts. He's really stolen the arts more than anything else. And, this is one of the things that has moved culture and people a lot, right? Which is music and arts and movies. It's all been taken by Satan, right? And we have to be those that have to think about the next generation and what we're going to do next, right? So, I know, as you guys can hear a little bit, there's a lot of echo in the background also. I'm in my friend's house, so there's no like padding and stuff around like I do have when I'm at home and such too. But I hope that you guys can bear with it. Just curious though, those of you guys in America, what'd you guys do for 4th of July? Right? Like, for me, we're all going around Golden Gate Bridge, checking out downtown and stuff like that too. Super packed with so many cars and stuff like that. But what'd you guys do? Right? It's quite interesting just to see what the Americans actually do on this day that they celebrate their independence. Cool. All right, so let's get into some news going on around the world. I couldn't do it yesterday, so I'm going to do a mix of some from yesterday plus today. Why do we watch the news? As Sunsteam has told us many times, top 3 reasons why Sunsteam watches the world news too. Number 1 is to see what he's doing. Number 2, see what we need to report and pray for. And last but not least, what are the things that we can comfort God's heart in? Okay, so let's start off with the Russia-Ukraine crisis, what's been going on over there. And it seems that Russia has captured Lysychansk, and Putin is pressing on even more. So the Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered his defense minister to continue the offensive in Ukraine after Russia captured the city of Lysychansk. Putin was shown on Russian TV calling on forces on other fronts to pursue their aims according to previously approved plans. The capture means that all of Luhansk region is now in Russian hands. Earlier, the region's Ukrainian governor said the city was abandoned, so Russians would not destroy it from a distance, and soldiers have now moved to fortified positions, and President Zelensky of the Ukraine has pledged that forces will return to retake Lysychansk, and he says thanks to the increase in the supply of modern weapons. Russia has now stepped up its bombardment of cities in the neighboring Donetsk region, with Sloviansk and Kramatorsk in particular being targeted. Together, the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk formed the industrial Donbas area, and Putin was seen telling Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu that troops who took part in the campaign to capture Luhansk should rest and develop their combat capabilities. Just before he launched the invasion of the Ukraine on February 24th, so we know how long it's been now, Putin recognized all of Luhansk and Donetsk as independent states. Russian proxy forces began an insurgency there in 2014. The year Russia also annexed the Crimean Peninsula. And just over a week ago, Russian troops captured Severodonetsk, which Russian bombardment has reduced to ruins. In other developments, railway tracks and electricity lines in the northern city of Kharkiv were damaged in a series of attacks, but no casualties were reported. And the southern city of Mykolaiv, on a key route to the port city of Odessa, was shaken by several explosions. The Russian Defense Ministry said its air force had destroyed 5 Ukrainian command posts and several ammunition dumps, but that claim has not been independently verified. Now, the blast came a day after the Russians were accused of killing more than 20 people in a missile strike on a block of flats near Odessa. Later on Saturday, Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko said his country's air defenses had shot down Ukrainian missiles, though he did not specify where. And of course, Lukashenko is a close ally of Russia's Putin and allowed Russian troops to invade Ukraine from Belarus in February. And he also added that we're not seeking to fight in Ukraine. So in its latest intelligence update, the UK Defense Ministry accuses Russia of using Soviet-era anti-ship missiles in a secondary land attack role, not what they were designed for. The Kh-22 and Kh-32 missiles were likely the ones that killed many civilians in Kremenchuk and Odessa, the ministry says. Sloviansk, a major Donbas city held by Ukrainian forces, has also been shelled again by the Russians, and its mayor said banned Russian cluster munitions killed 4 people there. Another claim that is not verified yet at the moment either. So that is what's going on in Russia and the Ukraine. So let's move over to Central America. There's a storm that came in called Storm Bonnie that turned into a hurricane, and it leaves a deadly trail in Central America. At least 5 people have been killed as Tropical Storm Bonnie swept through Central America. 4 died in Nicaragua, 1 in El Salvador, officials said. Bonnie, which has strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane, is expected to move parallel to the coasts of southern Mexico in the coming days, according to the U.S. National Hurricane Center. Meteorologists have warned of life-threatening surf and rip currents, and Bonnie made landfall late on Friday on the Caribbean coast in southern Nicaragua and swept northwest across the country to El Salvador's Pacific coast. Now, all 4 of those who died in Nicaragua were swept away by rivers, which had been turned into raging torrents by the heavy rains. That's tens of thousands of people across Nicaragua were left without power, and more than 10,000 homes had no water. So in El Salvador, there's already one of the confirmed dead was a young woman, and rescue workers are searching for at least 1 missing man at this time. So parts of the country remain under alert for further possible flooding, and schools will stay closed across El Salvador on Monday. The president announced this on Twitter. So in the capital, San Salvador, roads collapsed and cars were swept away. Bonnie is the 3rd hurricane of the 2022 Eastern North Pacific season, after Hurricane Agatha developed in May and Blas in June, according to the National Hurricane Center. So prayer goes out to all the people affected by those hurricanes over there in Central America. Last but not least, we're going to go to Denmark. And there was a shopping mall gunman and a shooting, and I believe 3 people were killed. So a 22-year-old man suspected of killing 3 people at a shopping center in Denmark's capital, Copenhagen, has been charged with murder. 2 Danish citizens, 17 and 47, 2 Danish citizens, both were aged 17 and 47, and also a Russian citizen were killed in Sunday's attack, and police said the suspect had mental health issues and there's no indication of a terror motive. The suspect appeared in front of a court in a blue t-shirt accompanied by 3 heavily armed officers, and the suspect's lawyer refused to enter a plea for the accused while the media were present, and the judge ordered the rest of the hearing to be behind closed doors. The judge also imposed a name ban on both the suspect and the victims. Now, the suspect will be remanded in a closed psychiatric ward for 24 days, authorities said. And speaking to reporters earlier on Monday, police chief said they believe the suspect, described as an ethnic Dane, was acting alone and was not helped by anyone else. And he also added that the suspect was known peripherally to the police. So police are also investigating videos of a young man with weapons, which have been circulating on social media since Sunday, and believe them to be authentic. So far, 4 people were seriously wounded in the attack. 2 are Danish citizens. The other are 2 Swedes, and I believe there is one person from a different country. I'm not sure which one that is. So 1 remains in critical condition, and they are treating other victims, said 2. 3 others were hit by stray bullets, taking the total number of people shot to 10. And one of the 10 shot, 6 were women, 4 were men. The police inspector was reporting. And one of those shot was an Afghan national. There you go, an Afghan national. The deadly attack began at this shopping mall around 5:35 p.m. local time on Sunday, according to police reports, and the multi-story shopping center, one of the biggest in Denmark, is near a secondary school as well as a large student housing block and is often full of young people. Several of those present at the shopping center spoke of how they fled the scene or hid in toilets, shops, and storage rooms, and police arrested the suspect near the mall 13 minutes after being alerted by the attack. So it's quite interesting to see, there's a lot of these shootings that are going on, but I think the most important thing that we have to understand is, what we can pray about. Of course, we can pray about getting rid of guns, but we have a lot of people that have mental issues, right? A lot of people that are struggling and going through, they can't really handle what is going on. And I do think that's something that we do need to address, and it's something that can be addressed through God and the Word, right? So that's something that made me think a lot more deeply. These shootings are happening all the time, but it's always these people that are kind of distraught, going through tough things, being bullied or whatever it is, and that's what's causing a lot of this pain to actually be happening. It's something that we do need to think about and pray about a lot more too. Okay, so there is your top 3 news in sport, top 3 news around the world, which means we're going to move on to some sporting news. In tennis, we have the Wimbledon that's going on over there in the UK. And in men's quarterfinal action, quarterfinals are now set. So Djokovic passed on, and he'll be facing Sinner, right, from Italy. And then Nick Kyrgios moved on to the quarterfinals after defeating Nakashima in a 5-set thriller. Great match there. Nadal is playing today, so let's see that he can move into the quarters also. In soccer news, Cristiano Ronaldo is open to a move to Chelsea after he requests to leave Manchester United. Chelsea have been told that Man U forward Cristiano Ronaldo could be willing to join them, but the club is yet to decide whether to make a formal offer or not. Ronaldo informed United of his desire to leave Old Trafford in pursuit of Champions League football, but there are few realistic options for the 37-year-old who earns about £500,000 a week. So every 2 weeks he's making £1 million, which is it's probably like 1.2 million US dollars per every 2 weeks, right? So Bayern Munich and PSG have been mooted as possible destinations, and sources have said that contact has been made between Ronaldo's representative and new Chelsea chairman too. So that's quite interesting. Ronaldo, even though he's 37 years old, he scored 24 goals in 38 appearances for Man U. But rumors keep coming out, like there's a lot of dressing room, locker room disagreements, right? Former interim boss Ralf Rangnick is thought to have advised letting the Portugal forward leave in January because he didn't suit his preferred pressing style. And, United continue to insist they are not interested in letting Ronaldo leave, despite the player being given permission to miss training on Monday due to family reasons. Right, but Chelsea will now consider whether to explore the finer points of a deal. And they have also been informed that Neymar could be available from PSG. Right, so Neymar could be available, but so far, not sure if they even if they want to pursue that. But so far, Chelsea have made. Manchester United have made a £60 million offer for Leeds United winger Rafinha, while also remaining in negotiations with Man City to sign forward Raheem Sterling, a deal they are increasingly hopeful of completing. And sources have also told ESPN that they're keen for Chelsea to enter the running should striker Robert Lewandowski show any willingness to move to England. So Bayern have so far rejected multiple offers for the 34-year-old from Barcelona, which is the team that Lewandowski prefers to go to. So there are also suggestions Ronaldo could be willing to take a pay cut to ensure he can play in the Champions League next season. And despite his fondness for United, sources have said he would be willing to join a long-standing rival, right? So, last but not least, this is quite a funny one because every 4th of July there is this amazing event in America, in New York. It's a hot dog eating contest. It's very, very famous every July 4th. And Joey Chestnut, he is the famous guy. He won his 15th hot dog eating contest on Monday. This is the record so far. This guy gobbled down. Guess how many hot dogs he ate in 10 minutes? He ate 63 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. Now, 63 is a lot, right? But you know what his record is? He holds the record with 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes, right? So, the next closest person to him was another guy that did 20 hot dogs and he ate 63. So that's pretty incredible, right? So, he's just dominating the world eating circuit, right? And, man, it's quite incredible that he can actually do that. But he's ranked number 1 in the world for competitive eaters by Major League Eating, right? So, it's kind of crazy that there's such thing as a Major League Eating contest, right? On the women's side, there's a Japanese person that's from America. She is the 8-time champ. Her name is Miki Sudo. And she won the women's hot dog eating contest. And the 36-year-old, she ate 40 hot dogs and buns, right? And that's 14 more than the next person. And basically from beginning to end, she led the contest. She ate 40 hot dogs in 10 minutes, which means it's 4 hot dogs per minute, which is nuts. And they said that in the first minute and 40 seconds, she ate 10 hot dogs. 10 hot dogs in a minute and 40 seconds. I'm just like, wow, this is incredible. It's incredible, funny, weird at the same time, but yeah, they do have these eating contests, and July 4th every year, it's the hot dog eating contest, which is the big one. I think they win like $10,000 or $15,000 too if they win that too, so it's quite incredible. So, yeah, as funny as that sounds, yeah, that is the sporting news for today. So that's the top 3 news in sports and world news. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. But you guys know what time it is. It is the golden time. Everyone, it is the golden time, a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. Hope you guys are really, really enjoying this time. I know that a lot of us are looking forward to some praise, but we also want to be those that understand that God and the Holy Spirit are also looking forward to this time of praise and worship too. It is the golden time once again. We're going to start off with My Lord Who Shines in the Word. Then we'll move on to Pray at All Times, and we'll end things off with Bury the Old. All right? So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's spend this time giving praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Trinity.
Oh my Lord, who shines within the Word, speaking with the power of the Spirit, ruling justly over all the world. He is only love. Now the Lord has come, I'll celebrate, bringing judgment through the word of truth. He's come to this world that's in the sky. Will they ever know? Till the day the Lord came in my life, I was only filled with pain and strife. But now I'm living with the Lord, and I have realized He's always by my side. Oh, my Lord truly loves me. He has come now to take me. With the Lord who's become my life, I shall live forever. Oh, my Lord who shines within the Word, He proclaims the Word with lips of fire, and before Him Satan stands condemned. Oh, who could He be? Oh, my Lord who's come upon the earth, He has come to save this troubled world. If we meet the Lord in ignorance, it will be our loss. Till the day the Lord came in my life, I was only filled with pain and strife. But has called us to fulfill heaven's purpose of creation here. And as He makes heaven on the earth, we are overjoyed. My Lord always judges righteously, speaking only words of truth and love. We're rewarded as much as we do. I will follow Him. Till the day the Lord came in my life, I was only filled with pain and strife. But now I'm living with the Lord, and I have realized He's always by my side. Oh, my Lord truly loves me. He has come now to take me. With the Lord who's become my life, I shall live forever. Oh, my Lord, like lightning in a flash, came to give us the new word of truth. He has raptured us into the sky. I will follow Him. He appeared the eagle from the east. From Korea, history spreads its wings. We shall build a land of truth and love, heaven on the earth. Till the day the Lord came in my life, I was only filled with pain and strife. But now I'm living with the Lord, and I have realized He's always by my side. Oh, my Lord truly loves me. He has come now to take me. With the Lord who's become my life, I shall live forever. Oh, my Lord truly loves me. He has come now to take me. With the Lord who's become my life, I shall live forever. Oh, my Lord truly loves me. He has come now to take me. With the Lord who's become my life, I shall live forever. Oh, my Lord truly loves me. He has come now to take me. With the Lord who's become my life, I shall live forever. I shall live forever. I shall live forever.
Pray at all times. We must pray. Pray at all times. Pray at all times. We must pray. Pray at all times. In our lives, at times we feel anxiety. Everyone goes through hardships. Everyone has worries. They rise and fall just like crashing waves. God has said, this is the solution. You must all pray. Pray without ending. If you want to talk, come and talk to me. That's what God said. Pray at all times. We must pray. Pray at all times. God has said we should tell Him what's in our hearts. How tremendous, that's so great. You and I both, we should say exactly what we must once the time is gone. Just like the sun sets over western hills,
pitch darkness will come upon you quickly. Therefore, let pray at all times. We must pray. Pray at all times. Pray at all times. We must pray. Pray at all times. We must all pray. We must all pray. Seek the new, bury all that's old. Seek the new, find and gain new things. See the new right before eyes. We have found treasures that we sought, for the old now has passed away. People who threw away the old live within a new brilliant world. Since our God raptured us at last, it's a world of eternal love. It's a world of eternal love. People who threw away the old live within a new
And there it is. That is the golden time, a time of praise and worship to the Holy Trinity. Hope you guys really enjoyed that time, especially that last song. I think it's a really, really good song for this week's message, where we need to clean and make ourselves. So I hope that all of us can bury the old things, the things that we don't need anymore. And when you look at when it says bury the old, it's kind of like those trees and flowers. Son's been raising for 24 years, so they're not new things. He's been spending a ton of time on it, and there are some old things that we have to look at, discern, and make sure we cut off, or whether it's completely or just pruning. That's something that we really have to look at. Before that is pray at all times, and of course, my Lord who shines in the Word. Just to let you guys know, if you do hear some stuff in the background, there are like 3 kids here, adorable kids. So I'm not going to tell them to be quiet, because this is their house, and also they're kids, right? Kids can't just stay quiet, right? So, but I'm fine with it too. And I'm sure you guys are fine with it also. And many of our listeners out there do have children too. And it's something that's part of life. Okay. So let's move into the word study for today. Now that our hearts are made ready through praise. Like every Tuesday, we do go over the scriptures for the week. And this week's scriptures, I picked the verse that's in 2 Samuel. Okay, so 1st and 2nd Samuel, they're books that are combined. They're this same book, but I'm gonna go over some cool material and some information that we can gain, so that when we read the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel, it'll be something a lot more. It'll be more beneficial because we'll understand it much better. Okay, so let's take a look at the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel. Okay, and these 2 books are actually considered one of the earliest Hebrew manuscripts that were found, and it was one book, but later divided into 2 books by the translators of the Greek version, the Septuagint. Right, so those of you guys know, the Septuagint was created after Malachi, right, before Jesus came, and that is the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible. Right, and we all know that. And when we talk about the history of it, it's mainly because a lot of the Jewish culture kind of went away, and a lot of Jews couldn't even speak Hebrew anymore at that time, because Greek was so widely used. Okay, so the earliest Hebrew manuscripts, entitled the one book Samuel, after the man of God used the prophet to establish the kingship in Israel, and later Hebrew texts and the English versions called the divided book 1st and 2nd Samuel. Okay, so when you look at the Septuagint designated them the 1st and 2nd books of kingdoms, right? Or first and being 1st and 2nd Kings. So you're like, wait, don't we already have a 1st and 2nd Kings? Yes, we do. So it was like they were going to call it 1st Samuel, 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings. And that means that 1st and 2nd Kings that we know of would have been 3rd and 4th Kings, which is quite interesting, right? That Samuel was considered to be like the 1st and 2nd Kings, which does make sense, because it does talk about how the new kingdom was made, and how he crowned Saul and King David too, right? So it was going to be called 1st and 2nd Kings, right? And then it would have been 3rd and 4th Kings for the 1st and 2nd Kings that we know today. So let's get into the authors. Who were the authors of this book of 1st and 2nd Samuel? Okay, so Jewish tradition ascribed the writings of Samuel to Samuel himself, or to Samuel, Nathan, and Gad. Okay, but Samuel cannot be the writer, because his death is recorded in 1 Samuel 25 verse 1, before the events associated with David's reign even took place, right? So you're seeing that even in his book, it's talking about his death. So how can he write about his death? It doesn't make any sense, right? And also you have Nathan and Gad. They were prophets of the Lord during David's lifetime, and would not have been alive when the book of Samuel was written. So though the written records of these 3 prophets could have been used for information in the writings of 1st and 2nd Samuel, the human author of these books is still unknown. So the work comes to the reader as an anonymous writing, right? So the human author speaks for the Lord and gives a divine interpretation of the events narrated. So the books of Samuel contain no clear indication of the date of composition, and that the author wrote after the division of the kingdom between Israel and Judah in 931 BC. So that is clear. But due to the many references to Israel and Judah as distinct entities, you can kind of have an idea. It was written somewhere around this time, around 931 BC. And also the statement concerning Ziklag's belonging to the kings of Judah to this day that's in the book of 1 Samuel, it gives clear evidence of a post-Solomonic date of writing, right? There is no such clarity concerning how late the date of writing could be. However, 1st and 2nd Samuel are included in the former prophets in the Hebrew canon, along with Joshua, Judges, and 1st and 2nd Kings. So if the former prophets were composed as a unit, then Samuel would have been written during the Babylonian captivity, right? Since 2nd Kings concludes during the exile. However, since Samuel has a different literary style than Kings, it was most likely penned before the exile during the period of the divided kingdom and later made an integral part of the former prophets. So what is the background and settings of this book? So the majority of the action recorded in these two books of Samuel took place in and around the central highlands in the land of Israel. So the nation of Israel was largely concentrated in an area that ran about 150 kilometers from the hill country of Ephraim in the north to the hill country of Judah in the south, and between you'd probably say about 30 kilometers east to west. So this central spine ranges in this spine of these highland areas is about 1,500 feet to about 3,300 feet above sea level, and the major cities, 1st and 2nd Samuel, are to be found in the central highlands. There's Shiloh, right? That's one of the cities in the highlands, and that's the residence of Eli in the tabernacle. Then there's Ramah, the hometown of Samuel, and then Gibeah, the headquarters of Saul. Bethlehem, the birthplace of David, David's capital. The birthplace of David, which is Hebron, which is in Bethlehem. It's David's capital when he ruled over Judah, and Jerusalem, which is the ultimate, later turns into the city of David. Now, the events of 1st and 2nd Samuel took place between the years of about 1105 BC, which is the birth of Samuel, to around 971 BC. And the last words of David, that's in the end of 2nd Samuel. You can see, you can see that it's there, right? That date, it's around that time. So the book spans for about 135 years of history, 1st and 2nd Samuel. And during those years, Israel was transformed from a loosely knit group of tribes under judges to a united nation under the reign of a centralized monarchy. And they look primarily, at Samuel. And Samuel was reigning at that time from about 1105 to 1030, which is about 75 years. And Saul, who reigned from like 1052 to 1011 BC, which is about 42 years. And David, who was king of the United Monarchy for another 40 years, right? Exactly 40 years. So that's kind of the setting behind it. What are the historical and theological themes that we see? So when you look at 1 Samuel, when it begins, Israel was at a very low point spiritually, right? The priesthood was corrupt. The Ark of the Covenant was not at the tabernacle. Idolatry was practiced. Judges were dishonest. And through the influence of godly Samuel and David, these conditions were reversed. 2 Samuel concludes with the anger of the Lord being withdrawn from Israel. So during the years narrated in 1st and 2nd Samuel, the great empires of the ancient world were in a state of weakness. Neither Egypt nor the Mesopotamian powers, Babylon and Assyria, were threats to Israel at that time. The two nations most hostile to the Israelites were the Philistines to the west and the Ammonites to the east. The major contingent of the Philistines had migrated from the Aegean Islands and Asia Minor in the 12th century BC, and after being denied access to Egypt, they settled among other pre-existing Philistines along the Mediterranean coast of Palestine. The Philistines controlled the use of iron, which gave them a decided military and economic advantage over Israel, and the Ammonites were descendants of Lot, who lived on the Transjordan Plateau, and David conquered the Philistines and the Amorites, along with other nations that surrounded Israel. So there are four predominant theological themes in these two books. The first is the Davidic covenant. So the books are literally framed by two references to the anointed king in the prayer of Hannah and the Song of David. Okay, so this is a reference to the Messiah, the king who will triumph over the nations who are opposed to God. And according to the Lord's promise, this Messiah will come through the line of David and establish David's throne forever. You'll find that in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 12 to 16, the promise God gives to David. right? Now, the events of David's life recorded in Samuel foreshadow the actions of David's greater son in the future. A second theme is you'll see the sovereignty of God, right? It's very, very clear in these books. And one example is the birth of Samuel in response to Hannah's prayer. Also, in relation to David, it's particularly evident that nothing can frustrate God's plan to have him rule over Israel. Third, the work of the Holy Spirit is empowering men for divinely appointed tasks, and that is evident. The Spirit of the Lord came upon both Saul and David after their anointing as king. The power of the Holy Spirit brought forth prophecy and victory in battle. Fourth, the books of Samuel demonstrate the personal and national effects of sin. The sins of Eli and his sons resulted in their deaths, and the lack of reverence for the Ark of the Covenant led to the death of a number of Israelites. Saul's disobedience also resulted in the Lord's judgment, and he was rejected as king over Israel. And although David was forgiven for his sin for adultery and murder after his confession, he still suffered the inevitable and devastating consequences of his sin. Okay, so that is kind of the four themes that you'll see there, right? Once again, we'll just kind of go over that quickly. Is the first is about the Davidic covenant, right? The covenant of the promise of the Messiah that will come through David's line. The second theme is the sovereignty of God, right? Of how God, God responding to Hannah's prayer to get Samuel. Right? And the third one is the work of the Holy Spirit in empowering men for divinely appointed tasks. And last but not least, it's the books of Samuel demonstrate the personal and national effects of sin. So that's a pretty big one. Personal and national effects of sin, which is like a generational sin, or you see how sin does affect other people, right? And that's something we do teach about in the sin lesson when it's generational or hereditary sin. So I hope it's something that we can really look at and say, wow, this is happening all the time throughout the Bible. And if we read the Bible more and more, we'll be able to catch these different themes all throughout the books. Okay? All right, so there it is, guys. That is the word study for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed that more than anything else. Looking at the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel, really, really interesting things that, even for me, it was really interesting to find out that they were going to name it 1st and 2nd Kings, right? So I hope it's something that you guys really, really understood, and it's something that you guys can enjoy as you read it. But it's also something that, it's good for us, especially those that believe in the Bible, believe in God, that we should know the Bible even better and more. All right? Cool. All right, so that is the end of the word study for today, which leads us into the song of choice. And it is Korean Tuesday. Yes, I missed the Philippine Mondays yesterday, but it was crazy. Just coming off the I was still at the retreat at that time when I was recording, so I couldn't. And my voice was crazy. Right now, my voice is still crazy, but not as crazy. Okay. So on today's Korean Tuesday, we're gonna go back to old school Korean K-pop, one of the originals. This is HOT, and it means High Five of Teenagers. What does that mean? I have no idea. That's just their name. And we're going to go to the song that made them famous, like crazy famous to people all over Korea. This song is called Candy.
나는 보았어 널 떠날 거야 널 떠날 거야 하지만 아직까지 사랑하는 걸 그래 그렇지만 내 맘속에 너를 잊어갈 거야 머리 위로 비친 내 하늘 바라다 보면 널 향한 마음을 이제는 굳혔지만 웬일인지 내게 다가갈수록 우린 같은 하늘 아래 서 있었지 단지 널 사랑해 이렇게
a frock, bubble in a frock, boom shaka top.
내게 하구려요 있어 그래 그래 너는 내 앞에서 있고 그래 다른 연인들은 키스를 해 하지만 항상 너의 뒤에 있어야만 해 이제 그만해 나도 남자인데 내 마음 너도 알고 있는 거 알아 그래 이제 나도 지쳐서 하늘만 바라볼 수밖에
햇살에 일어나 보니 너무나 눈부셔 모든 게 다 변한 거야 널 향한 마음도 그렇지만 널 사랑하는 게 아니야 이제는 나를 변화시킬 테니까 머리 위로 비친 내 하늘 바라보며 널 향한 마음을 이제는 놓쳤지만 웬일인지 내게 다 다가갈수록 우린 같은 하늘 아래 서 있었지 단지 널 사랑해 이렇게 말했지 이제껏 준비했던 많은 말을 이루한 채 언제나 네 옆에 있을게 이렇게 약속을 하겠어 저 하늘을 바라보며 한 번 더 말했지 이제껏
그래도 많은 말을 이루한 채 다시 널
많은 말을
사랑한다고
이루한
했지
채 언제나 네 옆에 있을게 다시 너 혼자 아냐 너의 곁에 내가 있잖아
And there it is. That is H.O.T. with the song Candy. You could tell it's very, very old school, very cute more than anything else. But that is one of the groups that started everything. I think the most famous guy there was Kangta. He was super famous and super very like feminine makeup. He was like one of the people that actually started that kind of trend. So I found that to be very, very interesting just to listen to that again because we even had people in our churches performing that song. So that was kind of funny more than anything else. But either way, there it is. That's H.O.T. with Candy. All right. So let's get into the final segment for today, which is the question and comment we did last week. We talked about how evangelism is going in your churches. And, we really want to be people that can make evangelism work in a better way. And, when I talk to different people about evangelism, there's always hope at the beginning. There's always, there's a lot of hopeful things happening as people go around gathering people at that time. But generally speaking, when you look at results, we're just looking at results in general. We see that most churches that are at least at a medium-sized level. Smaller churches are a little bit easier. Like I said before, is if you have 5 people in the church and you gain 1 person, that's like 20% growth. Right? Even if you have 10 people and you evangelize 1, that's already 10%, right? And that's what the average is, 10 to 20%, which is supposed to be healthy for our growth in each of these churches. So when you look at evangelism in your churches or your country, or even as an individual, most people, I would say almost all, almost all would say that it's not, there's a lot of hard work going on, a lot of people working hard, but just results-wise, it's not as good as people would want it. Like, I know some churches are over 100 people, which means they should be doing 10 to 20 people a year, which is still like, wow, they're not even close. Even when I was in different countries too, some churches will be 200 people, which should be 20 to 40, but it's not even close to that also. So what do you guys think? What is the thing that's causing it to make it really, really hard for evangelism? Right? What's the difficult part? And I was asking these questions. I got a list of these answers that kept coming out. Right? Number one is people say that it's very, very difficult for people to transition their life. Right? Because the life of Providence is very, very high level. The way that we want to live, how we want to make God happy, waking up for pre-dawn, this and other things like that happening. Yep, that's one of the biggest and hardest parts is making the transition of your life. Another thing that people had problems with, some people said it was slander, right? People hear it, they're gone. Right? They're like, oh, what's going on here? I don't want to be part of this. Another thing that people talked about was atmosphere in their church wasn't welcoming enough, or it wasn't something where people could build a community, right? Another thing is a lack of lecturers, right? Another one was a lack of lecturers. Another one was a lack of interest. Like a lot of people, they're more concerned with their own lives. And this is not something that's really, really bad if you think about it like that. What I'm talking about more is what people are saying is not so much that they don't like evangelism. It's just life is hard. So imagine that you lost your job during the pandemic. You're having a hard time supporting yourself, looking for a new job. It's like they're trying to just get their life together, but yet how are they going to spend more time on other people when people are struggling with their own lives too, right? So we see that there's a lot of different reasons that make people, makes it a little bit more difficult for evangelism, right? Another one people said was, we just keep doing the same thing, expecting the same result, a different result. And that's true. Like, we need new ideas, but it's hard to do new ideas because you're trying things that were never been done. So imagine if you're like a church of 100 people and you're expecting 10 to 20, but you're only getting 2 to 3 people, okay, a year. So you're like, oh, but then here's the thing. If you stick with what you have, you're always going to get 2 to 3 people, which is something that you can look at and say, well, at least I know what I'm getting. However, if I do a new method or new style, what if you get 0? Like, there's no certainty. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how good it's going to be. And this is why people are like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if this is the right thing. But what if we don't evangelize a single person? And then people feel even more like they wasted a lot of time. Right? And of course, when I asked people like, well, what do you wish you had more? A lot of people said manpower. Like, we need more people, right? Other people were saying they wish that people were more willing to help each other out. And you're going to look more and more. You're going to see that, yeah, there's a lot of these things that people are wishing that they had more of, right? And it's kind of an interesting thing is it's almost like this. Imagine, like, even what Pastor Joan is saying, that in a church, usually people who run, like, are really, like, not really running, but like, just say that are kind of active in the front lines, going out to meet people, going to lecture, going to manage and all these things, is about 10%, right? It's about 10% of the people in the church are actually the ones that are on the front lines. So imagine this. If you have a church of 200 people, you're looking for about 20 people that you can run with. So we have to kind of look at that in reality and say that, well, how much can we actually do with 20 people, right? How many people could we evangelize? What is the limitations that we have with the 20 people that we have, right? And that's something we really have to understand and look at and say, yeah, we have to look at how many people are actually running and what is our limitation. Because imagine you have limitations as we have 20 people, yet we only have 1 lecturer. That's a limitation. We have 20 people, yet some of them are only part-time and they can only do it after their work, which means there's not enough people that are on campus to help with the campus evangelism, right? There's just so many different things that we have to kind of look at inside of our churches that is not so easy just to say that, oh, these people aren't working hard, or why isn't it happening? Why don't we have evangelism working? But we have to look at all the different things. It's kind of like what Pastor Jones said for this week's Sunday message. You need to examine the situation, right? Really examine it. Figure out what your limitations are. Understand it so well that you'd be like, oh, we need to raise more lecturers. Or we need to train people to go talk to people. We need to train managers. And, there's a lot of different things that we are lacking. But it's going to be impossible for us to think that we're going to constantly be able to get someone from another area to come in as a new lecturer. Ultimately, in the end, if you have 20 people and you need 5 lecturers to do really well and you only have 1, you should be raising 4 more lecturers. That's what should be the goal, right? To get yourselves into a position where you can be more successful in evangelism. What if it's about management? There's so many different things, but it's very difficult because a lot of times we just expect people to be, oh, they're not good at that. Oh, they're not good at this. But when you think about reality is, yeah, they may not be good at it now, but what if they're raised and developed? And that will completely change the dynamics of the church and the dynamics of evangelism that we have to think about too. Right? So even when we're thinking about this, we need to really examine what we have. How many people are actually running in your church? What is missing? Do we need more lecturers? Does that mean some people can help? Well, how much can they help? How many people do we need to raise? Are we raising new lecturers? Are we raising new leaders? Right? And that's something that we really have to understand to see the capability of the group that we have running. If you only have 3 people, you may only have 3 people, but what if you have no lecturer? What if you have no manager, right? What if everyone's just good at bringing people, but no one can teach? Everyone's good at teaching, but no one can bring. Everyone's good at management, but no one can bring. Like, there's so many different things that we have to look at and say to ourselves is this the right thing that's going on? Okay, so I think that's something that you guys can think about. Comment on that too. Would love to hear what you guys think about that also. All right, so there it is, guys. That is the question and comment for this week, and it's just leaving you more questions to think about. And I hope it's something that you guys can really, comment, think about. Comment below. Love to hear what you guys think about evangelism too. All right. So that is the last segment for today. Hope you guys really enjoyed it more than anything else. Everyone have an amazing and awesome day, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly, so let's realign. Just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with